morning. It's very nice to be here, and I'm really looking forward to today and tomorrow and to hear many interesting contributions. Before I start, I would like you to take a look at this image. You see, sort of like in the background, a little bit to the right, you see a decorated rock facade. This is somewhere in Turkey. This is a monument that dates to the 7th century BC from the Phrygians, and it's associated with the famous King Midas. You also see that it's sort of at the front of this ragged natural rock outcrop, and you see a village in the front. And in this one image captures something that is kind of key to the project that I will be describing to you today. The notion that for discovery, preservation and regeneration of cultural heritage, we cannot only look at historical monuments or archaeological monuments, but we need to see it in sort of an integrated perspective with landscapes, with history, with habitation and nature. And this picture also happens to be an image describing the case study that I will be talking about. So, as the chair has said, I'm the director of the Netherlands Institute in Turkey, NIT, and we're based in Istanbul. This is part of Leiden University, and our task is to initiate, to conduct, and to support academic research into Turkey and its historically and culturally connected regions. We are a very small research institute, and our aim is to support researchers from the Netherlands and Turkey from a very broad range of disciplines in the humanities and social sciences. I'm an archaeologist myself, and the main long-term research project of the institute actually involves an excavation project in southern Turkey. But that's not why I am here today. My colleagues and I, we also initiate and carry out projects that focus on cultural heritage, and that are generally a combination of research and education, and where we try to involve partners also from outside academia. And the project I'm talking about today, I'm presenting today, is actually something that's ongoing. It will run for a few more months, and we don't have any outcomes to present, but I will just describe to you what we do and how we set it up and why we've set it up the way we have and what we're trying to achieve with it. And I hope that you will see that there are connections with the work and the aims of the Sultans Trail and with the interests of hikers, I think also interested in landscapes, with nature, with history, and with local communities. So this photo was taken in the 1930s by a Dutch archaeologist called Emilie Haspels. And she was a pioneering archaeologist in the region who worked there in the 1930s and 1940s and 1950s. You see here at her the house that she rented while she was doing research. And I don't know if you can make it out, but in the background you can again see this Midas monument. This is the region where she worked. So we're looking at sort of inland, but fairly western Turkey, in a region between the towns of Eskişehir, Afyon, and Kütahya. And three sites that I will be mentioning today are in this region: Yazılıkaya, Kümbet, and Ayazini. And together this region sometimes is called the Phrygian Highlands, because many of the historical monuments that you can see there belong to the Phrygian period, the period when this was part of a Phrygian state, a group in the region in the first millennium BC. And Emilie Haspels documented monuments especially from that period, but also from the classical period, the Byzantine period, Seljuk period, and the Turkish period. And she came there really as an archaeologist working on archaeological sites. And over the years of her fieldwork, she became, you can tell from her photographs, she became more and more interested also in the natural beauty of the region and in the communities living in the region in those decades. And here you see photos that she took. Now, heritage, I've already used the term a few times. Heritage, of course, is a term that is used in many different ways, in many different definitions, many different uses for it. So I want to briefly discuss what I see as something that is useful to take into account when we talk about heritage and when we try to use heritage in education programs. So heritage is something of today. History is something that's gone and in the past, but heritage is what is there today. And you can see it as a source of knowledge about the past. We can learn about the Phrygians from this Midas monument because of the material remains that we still have today. So there is people that sort of like use this to look back in time. Typically, us, I'm part of this, archaeologists, historians, architectural historians, people that see this and think like, it's worth preserving something like this because it can tell us and it can tell future generations about the past. It's a source of knowledge. And people that look at it like this, they tend to have a particular view, a particular vocabulary, a particular ambition in why this may have to be preserved. But heritage very much is also something that we have today and that may play a role in the future. It's a source of inspiration. It is attached to values that we may want to carry on into the future. And so it's also material that people from architecture, landscape architecture, planners, urban planners, designers, or people looking at heritage for economic values, for tourism values, for political values, use and look at. And these two perspectives don't necessarily connect very easily. We may use the same terminology, but we may be thinking about different things and trying to achieve different things with heritage. And in the project that as the Netherlands Institute in Turkey we're running at the moment, we're trying to bring together people from these different disciplines, and especially students from these different disciplines, to start thinking about how we can learn from each other's vocabularies, how we can integrate the way in which we use heritage, in which we deal with heritage, in which we try to make heritage also valuable for the future. And a useful set of concepts in this respect is something that I've taken out of an article that describes heritage politics and heritage-related planning in the Netherlands at the moment, that talks about heritage as a sector, as a factor, and as a factor. Just very briefly, heritage as a sector is, I think what we're all familiar with, are monument services, our antiquity services, restorers, conservationists that try to preserve heritage as this source of knowledge for the past and as a way of protecting it from society and thereby also maybe separating it from contemporary society out of a need that it needs to be protected rather than used, rather than having a sort of relevance and connection with contemporary groups. And this is still around, but in more recent decades also heritage has been applied in planning, in integration in city centers, in landscape planning, where you can see it as a vector, where it's an instrument, where we think of heritage as something that still has relevance for people today, but maybe a different relevance than what the archaeologists and the historians ascribe to an ancient monument. And this is where heritage can be much easier connected to the needs and the wishes and the ambitions of communities today than when it's when it's part of society than when we keep it separate from society. So at the Netherlands Institute in Turkey, in our heritage projects, our ambition is to try to bring these perspectives together, not to say like we need one and we don't need the other, but I think we need both. But we what we mostly need is a new generation of heritage specialists that are comfortable with both elements, that know about the historical values of heritage, but that also can see how reuse, design with heritage can contribute to the challenges of societies, the challenges of countries today. And our project focusing on this region is a short program that tries to train students, especially in developing sort of this new perspective. And we call it the Yasalakaya Living Lab because it deals with this village of Yasalakaya, this contemporary village connected very closely with its archaeological heritage. And at the moment there are some 25 students, especially from universities in the Netherlands and in Turkey, that participate, and for a period of 3 months they are involved. It's mostly an online program, but there is a small part that took place just a few weeks ago, a few days where we spent time in Yasalakaya and in the region. And the key question that we don't know the answer to, but that we pose to these students, that we challenge them to think about, is how can the heritage of this region, and so not just the archaeological heritage, but also the rural heritage of this village and the rural lifestyle that is still there, how can it be activated to contribute to sustainable development? And this is a program that we run every year, but every year on a different topic. But most years it is a collaboration between the Netherlands Institute in Turkey and a university in Ankara, Middle East Technical University, and it's been every year also supported by the Netherlands Consulate General in Istanbul. So just to give you an image of what we do with those students, this is from when we were together a few weeks ago during our field trip, and you see the group, and here we are actually in the courtyard of this house that 80 years ago, 90 years ago, Emily Haspels rented when she was working as an archaeologist in the region. It's still there, and it's a very interesting object to think about, like how can we use this house, which is both a traditional village house and it has this connection with this pioneering archaeologist, to strengthen the links between the village community and their archaeological heritage. So we showed them around the region. It's actually an area of great natural beauty with archaeological monuments sort of spread out in the countryside. It's definitely a region for hikers also to explore. Just to give you some impression, it's quite sparsely populated. There is not a lot of villages there, but it's clearly like a cultural landscape with small fields wherever possible, and you see sheep herds roaming around the fields. Some more images to give you an impression. And here and there you find these rock-cut monuments dating to the Phrygian period and dating to the Roman and Hellenistic periods. Often there are funerary monuments, often they are erected to honor a certain king or a certain figure. And because they are sort of separated out in the countryside, it's really always feels kind of like a discovery when you come upon a rock monument like this one over here. And some of them are quite spectacular. The one on the right is called the Lions Monument. It's a funerary monument. You see that small hole in the rock face where there would have been burials flanked by 2 major lions, and it's more difficult to see, but at their feet there is 2 lion cubs also. You also find remains of 1st millennium BC water cisterns, enormous underground rock-cut facilities for water storage. And what we try to bring across to the students is how, in a landscape like this, sort of the past and the present are very much intertwined and to a certain degree impossible to separate. Or if you do try to separate it, you create something very meaningless and attractive. And this illustrates that very nicely. You have a Phrygian funerary chamber, later decorated further with the pediment and the relief in the Roman era. But now it's inside the village and the houses are built up right up against it. Now from this heritage as relating to the past perspective, you would say, like, we need to get rid of this house. This is a later addition. We need to preserve and protect this monument. We need to separate it. But I would say, like, this is a fantastic image of the sort of like the time dimension, the long-term history of habitation and use of this landscape. And we also try to bring across the message that the people living in a village like this, that an archaeological monument like this is just part of their habitat, part of their living space. Whatever value they attach to it, for them, this is the space where they take care of their own livelihood, where they need to be able to carry out their farming activities, and where they may have a relationship with the archaeological monument, but for them that is not why this is their home. So here you see an image of this village of Yazilikaya. Behind the photographer is this rock facade. From here it looks like a well-maintained village, but this village, like all the villages in the region, actually have to confront very serious problems affecting their ability to maintain their livelihood, their lifestyle in these locations. A range of problems like sort of neoliberal politics that make farming very difficult for them to make profitable. Therefore, young generations that move to the cities, the population has shrunk to maybe about 40 inhabitants, and you don't see any young people. Moreover, in this particular village, because they are right next to an archaeological site, there are limitations to what they can do in terms of modifying their houses, updating it to the 21st century. For every modifications and repairs, they need permission. So these preservation rules that are meant to preserve the heritage actually make it more difficult for them to be part of this landscape. Climate change is going to affect their lifestyle, and this is something where I think me and other heritage specialists need to think about, like, how heritage in a broad sense, including the archaeological monuments and the landscapes and rural traditional heritage, can be strengthened, can be maintained, can actually benefit each other. So we need not to look only at the archaeological monuments, but also at the traditional houses, the way they are built, and here we are also taking them around to look at several other villages, looking at buildings like this, looking at the materials, looking at the building styles, looking at how they were, when they were inhabited, how they were extremely well adapted to what the local environment had to offer in terms of resources, in terms of what the climate and the environment required from them. And many of these houses now are, this one looks in good shape, but many of them are abandoned, falling apart, and getting to a point where it's almost impossible to preserve them anymore. I'm sure these are issues that you have in many other places too. We just use this here as an example, as a way of getting students to think about what we can do about this, what we can do to sort of strengthen and make this life here more sustainable. There is a little bit of an infrastructure for cultural tourism in the region. There's actually 2 hiking roads that go through, and both of them come by Yazılakaya and the Midas Monument. The Phrygian Way, and not the Sufi train, sorry, the Sufi trail. And there is one, and a few kilometers away from Yazılakaya, there is one place where bikers and hikers can stay, but the infrastructure for cultural tourism, for slow tourism, is actually very limited. And from the owner of this hotel, we know that not so many hikers and bikers come through. And one of the issues that they have is finding water on the trail, because there's very few stores in the villages left. And we take the students to study examples of where there have been attempts to preserve the interesting monuments. So on the left you see a photo that was taken in the 1940s or 50s by Emily Haspels of this Selçuk cemetery, this medieval cemetery, with a small shrine that at the time of Haspels was still being used by sheep herders in the area to come and pray and to ask for good luck for the sheep herd. And they would leave their wooden herder staff behind the grave, and it was in a way still functioning in the 20th century as it had probably done for centuries. When I saw it a number of years ago, it was like getting run down, and it really needed some restoration and some care and some upkeep. But that has been done now, and it has been done by putting a fence around it, and by restoring the building, by creating a parking lot for buses. And every day from the city of Eskişehir, buses come in, and the municipality of Eskişehir has set up a program to bring especially women on a bus tour every day to go and see some of the monuments. So they come, they look around for 5 minutes, and they drive off again. And they have in no way any contribution to make to the local community. So we have to think about like how this benefits the monument, the people, and how it actually more seems to separate this heritage rather than integrate it. Another example where there's a slightly bigger place in the region where several provinces that are near have come together to invest in the tourism industry here. They've restored, I think, 70 buildings, and they've all turned into these sort of tourist venues. Well, we were there in October when it was not really tourism season, but probably also in the summer there's not so many people that come here. As a commercial enterprise, is not very successful. The buildings have been restored, but the people now live like towards the very back of the settlement in unrestored houses. They don't live here anymore, and the people that run these tourist stores, they're not from the village. But people come and they can drink Phrygian soda, and they can have their photo taken on a bench in front of a plaster statue of King Midas. And this is also an example of how investments in heritage can lead to very adverse results. And it's these kind of things why we think like we need new generations of heritage specialists that are able to bring in these connections between the historical archaeological monuments and the landscapes and the people that live there today, for whom this is their own local environment. Well, one more example of how you can have a Coke right in front of the rock-cut monuments. I think you'll agree with me that this is also not a very beneficial, a very attractive way of preserving a site like this or supporting a community like this. So this is ongoing, as I already mentioned. All these photos you were just looking at, I took them a few weeks ago. We also had brainstorm sessions with the students, and in groups they are now continuing to work to think about designing proposals that help with sustainable development in the region, using the heritage of the region. The archaeological heritage, the rural heritage, in a very broad sense. And this will continue with meetings, but also actually with an online series of public events, lectures, presentations. You're all welcome to join us, and you can see our program on the website of the Netherlands Institute. And the final presentations will be on the 12th of December. And in 4 groups, the participants are working on 4 approaches, 4 themes. So heritage-led rural development, heritage and climate change, heritage communication, and Emily Haspels's legacy today. By the 12th of December, of course, we don't have solutions. We don't have like a ready-made program that can be implemented. But we do hope that there will be opportunities to then take this further and to continue with thinking about and discussing and involving communities and stakeholders, maybe to achieve some positive change, but especially also to achieve slowly that there will be a difference in thinking about how we need to approach this heritage and how it can have value not just to the archaeologists and the historians, but to society today and in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Fokke. Are there any quick, short questions? We have 5 minutes.
Is there, are these results of this presentation available online or?
They will be. This is an ongoing program.
Yeah.
We're doing this for the 5th time now. Every time on a different topic. It's been mostly on Istanbul and Ankara and Izmir, and now we have this rural theme. From the first 3 editions, we now have also a publication out that presents the proposals in a bigger context. One of the years we focused on water heritage and the history of water supply in Istanbul, and that has actually led to a lot of follow-up activities in terms of a big symposium we had with the Water Board of Amsterdam and the Water Board of Istanbul, and with a heritage memory walk you can do in Istanbul. So hopefully this will also have like follow-up stages, and they will always be shared and public. Yeah.
Yes, there's a question there.
I have more serious questions for later, but a less serious one. What is special about the Phrygian soda? Is it a Phrygian recipe for soda, or the opportunities with King Midas? Do they have donkey?
You grow donkey ears when you drink it. For me, this is an example of how, like, yeah, it's used as a marketing thing. My issue with this is not that people are trying to sell soda, but that they are, that the heritage policies, they have selected this area as, or the Phrygians as the symbol for this area. Whereas I would say, like, you know, it's all the layers of occupation and going up to today that should be considered relevant. And marketing one region just by one period or one civilization through soda in this case shows kind of like how ridiculous it is.
Thank you.
What is your institute doing something against the overpowering by the commercial things?
Well, we are as an academic institute, our mission is to educate and to train. So our ideal situation is that if we train a new generation of heritage specialists, then eventually they will make it into the professional world. But we cannot like go to a province and say like, yeah, you do this all wrong. We are like a Dutch organization in Turkey. We are guests in a way. We can bring in different viewpoints and different expertise, but we cannot go and like tell
But you are-
authorities or.
You are a Dutch-Turkish institution, perhaps you can do something.
We are a Dutch institution.
Yeah.
We're not a.
Oh,
Dutch.
not even Turkish.
We call the Netherlands Institute in Turkey. We are not a Turkish institute.
Oh, only in
Yeah, but even so, then we have no position to go and like. We are not activists either. We are educators.
I have a last
Well,
question
yes.
for you from the chair. How neutral is heritage? I mean, you referred yourself to the misuse and adverse effects. I could imagine that Turkey, where political views prevail, are sometimes changing. If you look at a longer period, does it make any difference how the actual political climate is when judging about the relevance or the importance of heritage?
It kind of depends on where in Turkey you are. If you are in a place like Istanbul, which had for a long time a municipal government aligned with the government, then you can detect how in their preferences for certain types of heritage, it sort of overemphasized some periods and some heritage at the expense of others. And then when in 2019 there came a new city government, there was all of a sudden also much more interest, for example, in minority heritage. In a region like this, for the Turkish national heritage authorities, any kind of heritage that can help visitors and tourism and commerce is considered